Games, comics, anime. Codenamed Epic.
Hello, and you are listening to Codenamed Epic General Podcast, weekly podcast of Codenamed Epic. This is Dismal Elephant with
Kirby Kid.
Here to talk to you today about digital comics versus the paper comics that we've all grown up to love.
Yeah, the digital industry is definitely growing. That's the trend now. I learned at at Long Beach Comic Con this weekend that a regular publisher.
Long Beach Comic Con, we learned a lot of things about the digital industry. We knew that it was out there. We knew that it was around. But we got to actually meet and talk to people that run their own digital database of comic books themselves.
Yeah, we learned a few of the nitty-gritty details. Like, for example, when you go to a publisher, not only do they take the rights to a character, they also take 70% of everything you make.
Not only that, but they will strongly suggest, I'm doing air quotes here,
quote unquote,
they'll strongly suggest what you to do, and things like that. So you might not even be able to do what you want to do, whether if it's a main title, a mini issue, mini series, whether if it's an original title or what, you don't necessarily have the choice of to do what you want to do.
Yeah, and then so if you digital produce, you get 100% of the profit. But see, then here's the downside of that.
You don't get they take a very small.
Well, it depends on where you go. If you go through a website, then they take some of it. But if you do it by yourself, you can get 100%. But the downside to that is once one person buys it, now it can be out there for free.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a double-edged sword. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I think that happens if you buy it from one of the major issues.
Oh yeah, that happens as well. Yeah.
Just they have more popular lines and popular places for you to buy it.
Yeah, and it's really just easier if it's digital anyway.
So, let's talk about how it's coming to be. It basically right now, it seems like the two more established labels, let's just say, are kind of resisting it. They're resisting. Yeah. They're not putting their titles out right away in digital format. Some of them, they wait a few months to put out the first issue, and then they'll be back behind a couple months to encourage people to buy the paper, the physical edition of it.
Yeah, the big two they're not happy about this because it's been this way for decades. It is kind of hard to change,
And not only that, but this is how they could receive the most money that they feel, and it's how they want to stay. But I think that they could get a lot more people on board and have it be cheaper to draw people even more so as well if they had it digital. Because if it's digital and you're able to run your own database to sell it, then you don't have to pay for the printers. You don't have to do the press and all that stuff. Yeah, you don't get the luxury of people coming in to buy the one comic of yours, whatever comic A, whatever A will be, and then they see comic C that's sitting next to it and decide to pick up comic C as well. You don't have that luxury, but instead you're going to have a page full of digital comics, and then they could just go flip through it while they're at work, school, waiting for an airplane, waiting to get on an airplane, or whatever the case may be. They could sit there and they'll be able to view all the comics and make sure that they're caught up current on their comics as they're about to take a 6-hour plane flight.
Yeah, and I'd almost even be willing, if it meant getting it on time, to pay the full price, like to pay the $3.99.
Oh, I wouldn't.
Well, I mean, because I understand that the comic industry, they don't make as much money as people think they do. So, I mean, if it meant supporting the industry and getting it on time, I'm used to paying that anyway. But one thing I have a problem with is that anyone who has the Marvel Comics app on Android or iOS, you know that when you buy the comic, you download it, but if you're offline for any reason, you can't read your comics. That I have an issue with, where they let you download it, but even though it's downloaded, you can't ever access it without it. It seems like they're trying to still have a modicum of control.
That's a major issue because, if you're on a plane flight, you're not going to be able to have internet.
Exactly. It's
so
like...
You want something to read. You would love it to have a few comics in front of you. If it's on laptop or the phone or whatever, that's great. but you want to be able to read it. And if you can't read it because you don't have internet, then what's the point of buying it digitally? Now,
yeah, it's crazy.
If they for like a $4 comic, if they would charge $2, you would get a lot more readers and subscribers because it is $2.
That'd be fantastic.
You don't have to pay for the paper, the press, the shipping. You don't have to worry about the comic booking a fair share or anything like that. No, it actually comes to be about the same profit for the comic book, maybe even a little more if they had it $4 comic be a $2 comic, and then you would have, instead of 100,000 subscribers for each issue, you would probably jump up to about 120 to 140 because it is so much cheaper. Yeah. They could buy more comics because they have the little extra money, and then they could follow the other series that they like but isn't on their top must-buy list.
Right, and another thing that would come out of this is, well, one, some jobs may be affected.
Yeah.
But on the plus side, other jobs may be created, because I know with the big two, the reason why they don't take submissions for new comics is because it's like, okay, look, if we consider bringing you in, we have to put the time, the effort, we have to get the printing, they have to invest all these heavy resources into it. But if it's done completely digital, where nothing physical, like no physical capital is actually invested, that makes it a lot easier for them to pick up independent artists.
So that would definitely very much improve the amount of artists that they could put out and stuff like that. Now, I'm not going to say that there will be some capital that they'll have to put up because they'll have to agree to pay the person some money and stuff like that.
But the risk is significantly reduced.
It is significantly reduced because if it doesn't do so well, then you don't have to buy all those comics back from the comic shops or whatever the case may be, and you don't have to worry about that. No, you just keep the comic on file on the website just in case it becomes big somewhere down the line because the artist or the writer became big in something else, and that one could receive a bump or something. Yeah. It's so much more room for success in it, I feel.
And they'll still be selling the physical because every comic book fan wants a physical one to have in their collection and to get signed. You can't sign an iPad.
No, there's...
well, you can.
It won't work so well because it won't stay on the comic. But there's still I think there'll still always be comic shops because there's some comics that you feel that you need to have the hard physical version of it so that you could go to your kids one day and be like, look what I was into when they're getting all into X-Men and Wolverine or getting into Superman and Batman. You could be like, look at these and have some what will be old comics at the time to show them and be like, this is how these characters all got started because you got those physical comics. You might not have the digital ones anymore for whatever reasons, but you still have the hard issues and able to show them, and you could even get them signed down the line or whatever the case may be. Maybe put them in a frame because you love them so much. Right. Maybe just have them to reminisce over yourself when you get older. Right,
but I think the hard thing is that like these companies, like while they produce things that we young people like, us people nerds essentially, keep in mind all these companies are run by old people. Well, like for the most part. So maybe because
old is debatable.
Well, older, like not from our generation. There are some people from ours that are in there, but for the most part, it's run by older people. So a lot of them are tech phobic.
Well, I don't know if they're tech phobic, but they want to make sure that the other big one is going to do it before that they jump into it because they don't want to jump into it and have it be not successful, and then they look bad. They don't want to be the first person. There's a lot of people that talk about in comics. There's not a lot of people that want to be the first one to do something. They want to be the second one to do a great thing, because they don't want to take that initial risk, and then if it fails, then it's bad upon them. But they want to be the second person to do something
and do it better. I think with the Mickey money behind them, I think Marvel can do anything. Well, they have the power of love and friendship.
That's something all down the line because Disney supposedly said we're not going to touch you guys. We'll let you guys do your thing.
We'll just get the money from you.
So yeah, we're going to just take the profits from you. The money that would be going to Stan Lee will be taken from you guys instead. So I mean, to me, if that's the case, then they're not going to be pumping any money either.
Yeah.
So I don't see that playing a significant role, because if they do start pumping in money, then that's going to give them reason to say we're going to change things. And I would rather not have them pumping money than
Disney Hulk.
Yeah. Could be very funny. Mickey versus Hulk.
Hulk smash!
So it could be very funny. I think that's something I would actually pick up and read or watch.
I'd love to see the Avengers in the next Kingdom Hearts game. That'd be kind of cool. Hulk versus Sephiroth.
No,
with the Keyblade.
That's something I don't want. That's something I would look at and be like, no.
Cap under the sea.
This is horrible. Because when was the last time that you saw a Marvel game be so good?
A Marvel game be good. And does Marvel vs. Capcom count?
No, because that's not really
does
Marvel.
Hulk Ultimate Destruction count? That was a good game.
I didn't play it.
It was good.
But the last one that I played was the big X-Men arcade game that you just had to sit on.
No, not Origins. Destiny?
Yeah, Destiny.
Oh, no, we don't talk about that game anymore. That game was terrible.
That was great. The arcade where 4 people could play, and it was like the first 4-player arcade
that
game.
That was good.
X-Men Legacy, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's Legacy. I was talking about Destiny, the one that came out last month.
No, I'm talking about X-Men Legacy.
Yeah, Legacy was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Jubilee was a little bit fun in that. Pretty funny character.
Was she useful?
Somewhat. She had a She had a projectile.
Well, clearly the game's not canon then.
So I mean, going way off topic. Yeah. So going back onto topic, if they do it, they need to make it a little bit cheaper. It would bring in so many more people for the titles, things like that. Now, first issue, you could have it be a little bit more expensive because it's the first issue, things like that. That's fine. But personally, I know that there's been some internet databases that sell comics that have the first issue of things be 40 or 50% off, and then it has a lot of people subscribing to it. A lot of people buying it because they want to read that first issue. They want to get into the series. And it just shows that if they have the digital comics cheaper, that you'll have a huge, large fan base. And if you want to put a few ads in there, just like you do with the hardcover, with the actual physical comic, and to have it be $1.50, $2, go for it. I'm fine with that. I could skip over the ads or whatever. As long as you could just flip through it like how you do in an actual comic book, and it doesn't say you must be on this page for 30 seconds or something.
Right.
That would be horrible.
Yeah, I think within the next 5 years, I think both Marvel and DC will switch over, because the new thing now is the tablets. And reading on tablets or things like the Kindle Fire.
Which has some exclusive stuff on it.
Oh.
Or like pretty much like it has stuff that's a lot cheaper on it and things like that than actual hardcover. And it's interesting, like how they're carrying the Watchmen on it, and Barnes & Noble said, since you're carrying the Watchmen on it, we will remove all Watchmen comics from our stores. So it's their way of protesting about people that are out there that's saying, I want Watchmen now.
I'll go to Amazon.
You have to go to Amazon to get it.
It's like Barnes & Noble, you're not in a position to barter with anyone on anything.
Especially since Borders
Borders is gone. You're next on the list. Amazon ain't going anywhere for a long time.
No.
That's not a very good plan.
Amazon's actually battling. They're going to be releasing supposedly a color version of their Kindle to battle against the iPad as well.
Well, yeah, the Kindle Fire.
Is that the color one?
Yeah, that's the new one that just came out, the big one. Kindle Fire, it's fully colored, it's Android powered.
I think they're releasing one that's a little bit bigger screen to actually fit the comic size more so, because some lettering is smaller than others and it's hard to read.
Bad, yeah.
So they're going to be releasing a bigger one designed for what I would think would be comics because of the lettering, but also just for general use for people that want the little bit larger screen. That's why a lot of them go to iPad instead.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be very interesting.
Yeah, I'll go wherever the comics go.
So I buy all my comics in a comic shop, but I'm definitely leaning towards the way towards going digital. I'm leaning towards going digital and if there's a promo for the right place at the right time, and I'll give them a try. And if I could set up a subscription so I don't even have to go on there and look, I'm probably going to go that way.
Yeah. I'm leaning towards digital because it's more accessible. I'll have them at all times. It's very smaller, it should be cheaper. But one thing you can't replicate is the feeling of going into a comic shop. The community. Yeah. And I'm afraid that might be lost.
Where it's almost like what's that TV show where everybody knows
Cheers.
your name? Cheers.
Everyone knows your name.
Yeah, it was very much like that. Like there would be there's a couple comic shops where I go in, they know my name, I know theirs. We stand there, we chat. Yeah. We don't have beer because it's a comic shop. But it's very welcoming atmosphere for people. Some people that don't have that type of atmosphere very many places outside of there.
Yeah, and I think even when it goes completely digital, I think that will never go away.
I think there's still going to be a few here and there.
And it's too ingrained in the nerd blood.
And I think because people will want those hardcovers. But I mean, they sell if they have a signing over at a con, they sell the comics right there. Yeah. As we've seen, there's online databases that you could buy physical comics from, and they'll mail it to you. They'll ship it to you, and those are even a little bit cheaper than a comic shop.
Which is sad.
Yeah. So I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where this goes, but it's going to take a few years for it to happen, especially with the large comic distributors. But with all these smaller online databases that's selling them, and with all the artists that try and make it out on their own, this is going to happen. It's inevitable.
It's happening.
And Dark Horse is really pushing for digital now too.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, that's cool. That's all we had to say about that subject. Keep an eye out for our next podcast, which will be about what happened at Long Beach Comic Con.
So keep tuned. Keep looking at our channel. It'll be up soon.
All right. Peace.
Later.